as I've always said in this, when people are acquiring real estate, it's the fun, easy part. And then it rolls into, management 101 and long-term ownership. And if we can mitigate, the issues, I guess, and the potential issues and cash injections down the road on day one.
Hey gang, how's it going? Russel Westcott here. So one of the biggest questions I receive from investors is where to invest. Where do you put your capital to earn a great return on investment? Now, the question of where to invest is a very critical question to get answered. But there's actually a question before that, a critical question that people don't get answers to that happens before the where conversation. So in this video upcoming, a conversation with my good friend and business partner, Jason Mattern, where we talked about the three pillars of real estate investing success. And one of these pillars, I don't think I've seen many people ever talk about. You're going to thoroughly love this conversation, and you may never look at your acquisitions the same way again. So let's get after it. Transitioning here, a conversation, Jay, I do want to get into one education piece here that you're famous for. And I learned this one from you. And it was I give you 100% credit. And sometimes when I do share it, I don't know if I give you credit every time for it, but the first time I ever heard this was from you. You talk about your three pillars of real estate investing. Can you share that? Can you share that theory and share that concept with everybody here watching today?
Wow. Okay, that's.
And Jay, we're gonna try to keep it under. We'll keep it under 15 minutes. But here's the cool thing: is if we need to expand on it, which I honestly think this could be an entire weekend workshop. It really could be. It could be a weekend workshop on these three pillars that Jay is going to talk about. But what we're going to do here today is we'll just share the framework with everybody.
Yeah. So let me give you the highlights on that, Russ, and thank you for the opportunity to share that, because I have this conversation so many times with people, and it's maybe just again a different look at it, and maybe more of a long-term look. As I've always said in this, when people are acquiring real estate, it's the fun, easy part. And then it rolls into, management 101 and long-term ownership. And if we can mitigate, the issues, I guess, and the potential issues and cash injections down the road on day one, that's what we want to do. So the three pillars are quite simple, and it's what you buy, it's where you buy it, and who you put in it. And our focus, Russ, when we talk with a customer is obviously understanding, where their financial goals are. But when we start zeroing in on a property, we really focus on that third aspect first of who we're putting in it, because that's our long-term customer that we're focusing on. And what we want to do is we want to, understand who we're going to put in it. And we want to understand what's their budget, what's their profile, what's their dynamic, right? Where are they working? What do they want to live in? How big? What types of appliances do they like? And once we understand that, we can go and, select an area and build a home that will attract that specific tenant profile. Because I see it time and time and time again, people again, pro forma shop, I'm going to keep using that word. And then all of a sudden what happens is, that tenant leaves, and then they try and attract another one. And, it's not the person or the customer that they maybe actually wanted to do long-term business with. And I think what we need to understand is, as owners, our tenants are our best employees, man. They're taking care of a very important asset for us there, and they're paying us to do it. So would it not be a little bit of a wise thought to maybe pause at this stage and just say, okay, who do we actually want to have a relationship with long term, and connect the dots from beginning to end so we consistently and repeatedly can attract the same result?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to jam a square peg in a round hole, right?
I 100% agree. I'm continually amazed when I have conversations with people about, and I'll ask them a question is, who's your tenant? Like, who's your ideal tenant? What tenant profile are you looking to put in? And most people will never, ever give that consideration to what their tenant profile is. As a matter of fact, in your model of the three pillars here, Jay, you actually state that it starts with the tenant profile. And then once you understand who your tenant is, right down to, let's use an example. Your properties that you buy personally, Jay. Do you know your tenant profile? Tell me about the profile of the tenants that you rent to.
110%. So I buy single family homes with no basement suites. And my tenant profile is a mom, dad, a small child, maybe two, right? Dad works in the service industry, makes around $100,000 a year. Mom is typically a stay-at-home mom. She drives a 2-year-old SUV that sits in the garage. Dad drives a Ford F-150 or a 3/4 ton diesel that sits outside. And I know these people can afford in between $1,800 and $2,200 a month rent. And I know these people tried to buy a house and maybe can't buy a house because they don't have the 5% down payment or a family member to lend it to them. But more commonly than not, these people can't buy a house because their consumer debt situation. So maybe that 2-year-old SUV sitting in the driveway, the $648 payment on it, that's for 42 more months, is putting their debt coverage ratio offside, so they can't buy. So these people typically stay with us 3 to 5 years at a time. And when they leave, they're typically going into home ownership. We're that last stopgap between them and home ownership. You want me to continue on? Because I got more about them. But anyway, this is where you need to understand our customer. And then when we build a property, Russ, and I know the mums in our properties, they absolutely want a double door refrigerator with an ice dispenser and water dispenser. This is the stuff that they like. So who am I to tell them any different? It's not what I want. I'm not going to be living there. Yeah. It's their home, right?
Wow. Time out, guys. Do you guys sense how clear Jason is on who his tenant profile is? And then the next step, so that's a perfect example of how the 3 pillars, what you buy, where you buy, and who you put in it, meaning who you rent to. So you actually determine the tenant profile first, and then now you've already started transitioning into the type of property that's going to fit what the tenant profile is, and then you pick the area that fits all that, and you actually have a perfect customer in the right asset, in the right neighborhood. Would that be a good way of summarizing it?
Yes. And time after time after time, when that tenant leaves, when you light the marketing back up, guess who you attract again? You're attracting the perfect customer that you want living in your property. And there's so much more to that exact tenant profile of why we've chose that, with over the course of a term of ownership of 10, 15 years of dealing with people like that. But they're just stable. To us, they seem stable. They pay their rent. If they having trouble with it, they're on the phone and, almost in tears that they're behind. And, they take care of their homes. Typically when these people leave, it looks like just, it looks good when they leave,
Yeah.
So it's running a very efficient model for us, right?
Yeah, it's treating us like a business, guys. Most people, like I said, don't think about the customer. The customer is your tenant. That tenant is going to be paying you upwards of $25,000 a year or more. So you better know who they are. You better know how to treat them well. You better do that. And I know when we walked through some of your properties, it was one of the rare exceptions. We went through one of your properties when you were having a turnover, and it literally was in a weekend. We had like a day to go through it. And that property looked brand new, and it was 5 years. You told me the last tenant had lived there 5 years, right? Is that typical for you?
No, and that was in a half duplex model, Russ, if I remember correctly. And truth be told, the other half of that unit, we bought that in 2013, I believe. We still have the original tenant in that side. But yeah, it's that family tenant profile, and we don't get as much cash flow every month, Russ, in a property where we only have one tenant. We don't have secondary suites, but we run a business still, and we're busy people, and we needed it easy. This is a longer term play and plan for us, and this thing just needed to float off to the side, kind of on its own, in a very low stress, consistent performing environment, and that's exactly what we've created with it.
Yeah, and I envision, like Jay, I wasn't joking when I said this could be a weekend event where we teach people the 3 pillars of real estate, starting with, and the first module is really understand thy customer. And then you build from there. And then there's a whole bunch of modules that, as a matter of fact, guys, if you are watching this or you're listening to this, hold me accountable to putting that on, whether it's post-COVID, we can do it live, or whether we do it maybe over a live broadcast model. But I want to put this together. Are you up for putting some training materials together, Jay?
Well, I sure hope you enjoyed that video. 2 simple things to do from here. If you're interested in continuing your journey, interested in continuing to become a successful real estate investor, just below where you're watching this, there will be an opportunity for you to subscribe. And if you're interested in continuing your journey, there is a hand-selected video over here for you. It's been hand-selected for you to keep your journey going forward. Thank you very much.